What is going on, YouTube? Andrew Miller from WelcomeHeadlines.com coming back at you all today with another commitment breakdown this week. Texas gets their highest rated commitment in the 2024 class so far, one of the top priority recruits out of state in the 2024 class. I believe it was late this morning, recording this on June 24th. It will be posted today as well, but landed 5-star running back, 4-star depending on the service you look at, and IMG Academy product, Jerrick Gibson. Tashard Choice gets another major victory recruiting at the running back position out of Florida. Last cycle, Texas landed the number 1 rated running back recruit in the nation in the 2023 class in CJ Baxter Jr. out of Orlando Edgewater High School. And then this cycle, Texas goes into Florida again, snags, at least according to a couple of the major recruiting services, the number 1 ranked running back in the nation in the 2024 class in Jerrick Gibson. Texas made Gibson their top priority for more than 6 months now. Also made 4-star running back Christian Clark another out-of-state top priority in this class, and he's also in the class now after he committed a couple of days ago. But yeah, Texas finishes out running back recruiting in the 2024 class, really jumpstarts this official visit weekend with a bang. Gibson was the guy that I had on commitment watch heading into his official visit this weekend. Didn't know if a decision would come this weekend or, when it would necessarily come this summer, but I said it would probably happen by the end of July. But, again, Texas, it's another domino to fall. It's going to help them build a foundation on the trail in the 2024 class and, continues to recruit at an elite level in the running back room. And so, all in all, this is a huge commitment for Texas. They land Gibson's commitment over offers from Miami, Florida State, Florida, and all the in-state schools were involved with him in Florida, as well as other big-time SEC schools, like Georgia, Alabama, all those. And so this was a big one for Texas. I figured that Gibson was destined to commit to Texas in the near future. Miami took a 4-star running back commit earlier this week. It kind of showed that even though they were trying to chip away at Texas's lead in this recruitment in the last few weeks, that Texas had a lead that was potentially insurmountable at this point. But it was really cool to see Gibson post the video, or I don't remember if it was Gibson or that it was a reporter, but the video emerged on social media today of Gibson giving his commitment to Sark and the Longhorns coaching staff this morning, and obviously the excitement was something you could feel just watching the video in the coach's room there, and it's something that really sparked a lot of excitement and activity on the recruiting trail for Texas, as they're hosting what could be their biggest official visit weekend of the year at the moment. Got other big recruits on campus this weekend: Colin Simmons, Kobe Black, guys like that. But this video is about Jerrick Gibson. If you haven't seen one of my commitment breakdowns before, we just kind of go through strengths, weaknesses, areas of improvement, and then projection at Texas, just to help you get a better understanding of what these recruits' games look like and how they'll ultimately fit with the Longhorns. Let's go ahead and jump in. So Gibson's about a 5'10", 215-pound running back. He's a guy that's already got a frame that's pretty filled out. I don't know how much muscle he's really got to put on before he's ready to compete at the Power 5 level, more specifically in the SEC. I mean, already at 215 pounds at 5'10", and the way that he's able to move for his size, I think his frame's pretty much good to go. From that perspective, that's a major plus for him. He's a guy that is about as good of a running back prospect, like a pure running back prospect, that you're going to find in this class. I mentioned in my piece that I did breaking down his game on the site. As always, I'll link that down in the description below. I said that he's someone that mixes in a lot of explosiveness and agility, also a good jump cut with really solid downhill running ability, a strong lower base. This is a guy that is just not going to go down on the first tackle attempt very often, especially if it's a poor approach or a poor tackle attempt. He's strong, man. He's a strong runner. He's got insane burst. I mentioned earlier this week when I was covering Christian Clark that he's a guy that's got like above average straight line speed and, can hit the hole pretty effectively. Gibson takes that and brings it to a whole new level where, especially in the zone running game, this is a guy that once, you don't even necessarily have to have a lane open up. He can make that first tackle or miss, whether it's in the backfield or kind of around that chaos at the line of scrimmage. He can make that first tackle or miss, find a hole and just burst through it. As always, I'll attach some B-roll showing his highlights, just so y'all can see him on film if you haven't already. But, it's crazy to see some of the moves he can make in the open field. You'll notice that he's kind of got that jump cut or, kind of, first step cut that you'll notice sometimes in the backfield from like Bijan Robinson. Really, really good lateral agility, and just overall has a good feel of, what move to make opposing defenders miss and be able to get to more open field to pick up more yards after contact, or maybe he's able to shake off a defender without them even getting a hand on him at all. Again, for his size, he's insanely elusive. One thing that I think really stands out to me is his short area quickness. All those skills are something that helps him find, work his way through chaos. And even if there's, 5 or 6 defenders in the box that have a chance to tackle him, more often than not, he's still able to wiggle his way through, pick up 6-7 yard gains. That's huge when you're able to get that sort of production from a running back on maybe a first or second down situation. Set your offense up with manageable second and short, third and short, and ultimately help you methodically move the chains down the field. Contrary to that, Gibson, I mentioned his explosiveness. This is a guy that's got really, really good straight line speed, good burst, great acceleration, whether it's making a defender miss in the open field or just turning on the afterburners to, get to the end zone. He's going to be a guy that comes up with some really big plays at Texas. He's not the fastest running back in this class, I'll go ahead and say that, but he is quite fast nonetheless. And, maybe you're looking at him more like a Bijan Robinson where, he's still able to break off a ton of big runs just thanks to his ability to shed so many tackles, make so many defenders miss in the open field, and, still work his way through chaos. All told, he's someone that's going to be just a really, really successful running back on every single down. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body from his time at IMG Academy. I noticed last season he didn't even have 100 carries. He hasn't had 100 carries in a season in his career at IMG. Maybe that changes this fall since he will be the guy in the backfield, but I think the fact that he's coming onto the 40 acres with fresh legs more than likely will also be huge. He's a guy though that just, again, given his frame, his pure running back talent and ability, and his ability to come up with successful plays in the zone running game just will really make him a solid every down back at Texas. One thing I wanted to mention with Gibson too is his ability as a receiver out of the backfield. Now, Gibson doesn't have a ton of production as a receiver during live game action at IMG Academy. He's got just a handful of catches under his belt from last season, but there is a good amount of film out there that shows him running some really impressive routes, soft hands, good separation ability from opposing defenders as well. Again, his agility, his understanding of route concepts as well will make him a really, really tough cover, whether it's opposing linebackers, safeties, whoever that be. He's someone that's going to be a weapon to use in the passing game, whether you're going to get him out to the flats, have him running actual structured routes out of the backfield. I don't necessarily know if you can motion him out. He doesn't have a ton of experience doing that. At least there's not a whole lot of film from him doing that beyond like one-on-one drills and camp and combine settings and some 7-on-7 stuff. But, I think ultimately he's going to be a pretty multifaceted weapon at Texas. I don't necessarily think that it's a weakness for him. I'll talk about areas of improvement later, but I don't necessarily think it's a weakness for him that he doesn't have a lot of experience being motioned out, but it's something that we'll at least be keenly watching heading into this season for him at IMG. So I'll kind of use this as a bridge to talk about some of the potential areas of improvement for Jerrick, or maybe a little bit more polish. I mentioned it a moment ago. I think seeing him as a set receiver in live game situations, whether again it be motioning out of the backfield to line up out wide, or running maybe more complex routes, maybe having to make more complex in-air adjustments to make catches. All those things would be good to see from him on film a little bit more often in live game situations. Again, he does have film out there, and I'll include some of that in this video as well as B-roll, but it's a much different feel to be running those routes, making those plays in live game situations compared to doing it in one-on-one drills and camp and combines, and then even in 7-on-7s, There's just not as much contact, especially for a receiver of Gibson's stature coming out of the backfield. The other area I wanted to pinpoint for Gibson that I would like to see a little bit more in terms of just like film from him is as a blocker. It's not going to be like a make or break thing for him on the 40 if he's not able to immediately become a consistent fundamental blocker, whether it be in run blocking or pass blocking out of the backfield at Texas. But it's still going to be an important role for him in this offense. You saw a guy like Bijan Robinson. You saw Rashawn Johnson's improvement as well. You saw both those guys really succeed as blockers in the running and the pass game the last couple of years. And that really also set them apart as NFL draft prospects to where they were both top 3-round picks. Bijan Robinson obviously going in the top 10 to the Falcons this year. And for Gibson, I think being able to develop as a blocker and get a better understanding of some of these blocking schemes is really going to make or break him as just like a solid running back prospect that, is a guy that's going to give you a lot of production on the ground and, can develop into a capable pass catcher out of the backfield, to someone that is a complete back that can be looked at as a early round prospect in the NFL draft a few years into the future. Ultimately, though, I think it's nice when you have a situation where a guy like Gibson has the tools to succeed both as a blocker and in situations where he is a receiver in live game action, and he's shown here and there that he's capable of doing both, that you just need more exposure. I trust Texas's staff that they scouted parts of those games, that they've seen him, whether it be practice settings or maybe camp or combine reps that I haven't seen, and so ultimately, I trust this staff. I think they can develop him the right way in those two regards and help him, again, become more of a well-rounded back. And then lastly, I want to mention his projection at Texas now. I think he fits. I would mostly whenever you see a guy that's like an immediate impact type running back commit like Gibson is, that you're going to say, okay, from day one, he could be a starter, that he could be an every down back at Texas. That's not necessarily the case, though. This is ultimately a good thing where Texas has so much depth and talent in the running back room. I mentioned C.J. Baxter earlier this video. He's going to be looked to as the guy that could be RB1 by the end of this season. You have Jonathan Brooks that could be coming back next year. You got Jaden Blue, Savion Red, Trey Weisner. You have Christian Clark coming into the fold. There's a ton of running back depth on the 40. And I think Gibson still will be a guy that will be in the rotation next year. He's just too good, and I think he's too college ready. Like I mentioned his frame, his strength, his vision, some of his potency as well as a receiving threat of the backfield and as a rusher in the zone ground game. And so, I think he's a guy that's going to be in that rotation either way, but he's going to have to earn his reps next year. There's no doubt about that. Again, it's a crowded backfield. There's a lot of talent here. And he's going to have to prove himself. Ultimately, though, I really, really like what Texas has building here in the running back room. And really what we've seen from this running back room the last couple of years. I mean, Texas was really strong at the running back position last season. You had maybe the best running back duo in America in Bijan and Roschon, and Texas could soon have the best running back duo in America again if, Baxter and Gibson ultimately not only pan out, but really live up to the insane potential that both of them have. They're both number one running back recruits in the nation in their respective classes for a reason. And so, I mentioned this in the article I did on the site, but in terms of, what Texas can do with a guy like Gibson, it's really intriguing to me to think about, how Gibson and maybe a guy like Christian Clark could be like a two-back set that lets Sark move around those backs in multiple ways and gets them involved in different ways in the offense. Christian Clark has had nearly 40 catches at Mountain Pointe High School last year. He's a guy that you can motion out, or, he's already a proven blocker. Also a guy that is more than capable as a rusher. Whereas, Gibson, again, a guy that shows good separation, soft hands, good route running ability, so you can get him involved to run some routes out of the backfield, or obviously get Christian Clark as a guy like a lead blocker that can open up more lanes for Gibson. And then if you want to get C.J. Baxter and Gibson involved, you then find yourself in a situation where opposing defenses have to worry about all sorts of different running back or rushing plays, where Texas can use a guy like Baxter that just finds the hole and hits it in the blink of an eye and can just explode to the end zone in the snap of a finger. Or you can give it to a guy like Gibson that has an insanely quick first jump cut that can be utilized in a multitude of different zone blocking schemes in front of him. I think in terms of the way that Sark's going to have so many different pieces to make the ground game succeed for multiple years into the future is really, really special. And you couldn't necessarily have all these pieces fitting this way without having a guy as good as Gibson and just as electric in the open field. I don't think I've used that word. I really like that word to describe him because he's a guy that's just so shifty. His change of direction is just insane for a guy that's, again, pushing 220 pounds already as a rising senior in high school and is 2 inches away from being 6 feet tall. And so, all in all, Gibson is a huge commitment for this class. Again, he was Choice's top priority, targeted the running back position for this cycle, and he got the job done at a really critical time because Texas is building a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail right now, and I don't think that momentum is going to stop anytime soon from what we're hearing. So, anyway, wanted to get a video out there, just, as always, trying to break down the latest commitments for Texas. And again, as always, I will link up the write-up for the scouting piece I did on his game in the description below. But we'll have a lot more recruiting content coming y'all's way here in the next few days to a week. So for Andrew Miller at Hook'emHeadlines.com, that's pretty much it. Hook 'em.